But without further ado, let's try to get into this a little bit. Yep, I still have that set up too. Perfect. Alright. Now, anytime you're talking about some real tinfoil hat shit, you gotta be adequately prepared. So let's go ahead. No, I haven't done a oh yeah in a while, so forgive me. But today we're going to talk a little bit, like I said, at the 101 level, about MKUltra. Now, I like talking about this type of shit in the oh yeah format because I'm definitely a fan of conspiracy theory shit, but I'm not a true believer, you could say. There's no religiosity to it in my mind or anything like that. I'm a fan of it, it's interesting, but ultimately I'm all about like what's the actual truth, right? Squash is joining us, by the way. That's not a dead animal, that's just a sleeping cat. And hello, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube. This is mostly, I think, who tunes into these. But I still do it live like everything on Twitch. If you're trapped on YouTube, I'm sorry. Come to Twitch. Twitch is where it's at. But I will still post things over there. Since it's like you guys are trapped in a little prison. And I drop little scraps in there for you to enjoy. So MKUltra, you've probably heard of. It's been blown out of the water like crazy. It's tons of pop culture references. Films. Some of the big ones would be like the Manchurian Candidate. There's actually one I didn't know about till today called American Ultra, which I actually want to watch now. It's about a stoner who's actually a trained MKUltra assassin. But really what MKUltra was is a little tough to pin down for a couple reasons. So take a look at this. This is freely available actually on Wikipedia. It's a 178 page little nighttime reading for you document. From something we'll discuss, the Church Committee, it's colloquially called. And this document goes into the best detail available as to what happened with MKUltra. The reason I mention availability is that, and this is where I'm a pleb and I don't know exactly, it was either Richard Helms or Alan Dulles, or probably, to be fair, both of those CIA directors were involved in destroying records related to MKUltra. And so the full extent of the program will forever be unknown because of that. But even in the Church Committee document, it talks about the CIA's program of research and behavioral modification. And that is kind of true, but even the Senate there kind of takes MKUltra, and if you read further in the document, you know, it's kind of like how today the headline is worse than the article. That was a little bit, because it's true. MKUltra was about behavior modification, but it was specifically through drugs, right? And so a lot of like the pop culture stuff about MKUltra will talk about like getting programmed through your phone or your television or whatever. And while that's definitely true, like apps are psychologically designed in a way to make you want to use them and that type of shit. This MK Ultra project that we're given the 101 level on today in today's was specifically about drugs. Now, here's a good place to start. So there were many different compartmentalized aspects of MK Ultra, many different names, and again, due to the destruction of the records, we'll never actually know the full extent of any of that, right? But the names you're gonna see is like, aside from MK Ultra, be like Bluebird, MK Delta, Search, Often, Chickwit, all with MK at the head. Those were, you could say, the initial wave, and that started in around 1953, and that was under the guidance. This is a character that is always good to research. We might talk about this character later on by himself, but his name is Allen Dulles. He directed the CIA from 1953 to 1961. Now, Dulles was a big espionage type guy. He believed in doing foreign coups and disposing leaders and stuff. He thought that was a good methodology. He was on the Warren Commission, involved with the JFK assassination. Definitely a character. So anyhow, he was around for the beginning, and then there were two CIA directors that were kind of meh. We'll talk about them. One only served for 14 months. And then the other CIA director who was kind of heavily involved in this MK Ultra was a dude named Richard Helms. He was actually appointed by LBJ, who was the president after JFK, and other three-letter acronyms, was assassinated. So that's kind of interesting. So you have that initial wave that we just talked about, MK Ultra, and it was a secret CIA program, very expansive, very compartmentalized, to the degree that, and this is talked about in the Church Committee report and all that, that universities would be involved, but not know that they were dealing with the CIA, right? So the CIA would front a company, pretend to be doing some type of research or whatever it was, get a university on board to do it, and then the university would have no clue they were involved with the federal government. It kind of gave the CIA free reign to fuck with society, and specifically in the MK Ultra heading. And again, I think this is important if you're a fan of this stuff, or if you're just trying to learn about it. So many people go so off the rocker with it. Like, and that anytime you bring this up, if you're just curious or a fan of this type of shit, as I am, people assume you're like totally off the rails, but I'm actually a very rational, pragmatic type of person. And so, at least when I'm trying to talk about this with you guys or inform you, I'm trying to tell you just the provable, evidentiated fact, maybe a little speculation, but really just, often cases, reality is stranger than fiction. So a lot of the crazy places people take it is unnecessary. Just what really happened is crazy. Here's a good example. So the heading MK Ultra was, I would sum it up as trying to find different ways to control your mind or your body through drugs. And drugs is a specific thing. MK Ultra was really, really focused on drugs. One example of reality being stranger than fiction, part of this MK Ultra program. And again, I think it's important. It's rare to find any type of discussion about this type of stuff that's a fan who doesn't believe it is like a religion. And so, again, anything we're talking about today is just simple, provable, like basic 101 Some people take it to crazy other places. I would recommend against it. The real stuff is crazy enough. For example, Operation Midnight Climax. For real. So, you actually may have heard about this. They may have even talked about this on like Rogan one time. That was a setup where the CIA hired prostitutes, and they would have a motel room set up with a two-way mirror. So the CIA had a camera set up, observers taking notes, the works. The prostitutes would give their Johns LSD, and then they would observe. And I don't know all the details. Again, I'm sure they don't exist. But you can imagine there'd be different permutations. Like maybe they would try to fuck with them or try to get different responses to observe and understand the effects LSD has on your mind, and specifically how controllable you can become from that. In a lot of cases, they were just looking for a truth serum with the MK Ultra drug experiments. A way to an interrogation, just be like, give them this, and then you're like tripping balls, but you can't help but say the truth, you know? So like the overarching MK Ultra went from 1953, 1973, a little while, right? So what started that sort of thing? Well, a lot of people believe it was the influence of kind of Nazi ideology coming in with the scientists after World War II. Because this starts up right in the 50s, right? So just a little brief about that and how it relates to this MK Ultra 101. And sorry I don't have more visuals and stuff. I'll show you some pictures of the people involved and things like that. But all this, I mean, you've got the internet. You can just look it up. So enjoy the cat or something. Maybe I'll do a bong load again. So at the end of the World War II, there was the Nuremberg trials, right? And this sort of established in international law what war crimes even are. Now, Operation Paperclip was an operation to take Nazi scientists, and this is one I don't know for sure. I'm sure like a deep researcher would know. But I don't know if some Nuremberg trial involved Nazi scientists were given like deals, like if you come to the US and help us, or if only Nazi scientists who like didn't commit certain things. You know, I don't know all those details. Some people would have you think the worst, like Hitler himself was brought over, you know, and other people. So I don't really know. I think it'd be hard to even know for real. But in any case, some Nazi scientists came over, and some of them worked for the CIA. And a lot of people speculate that kind of influenced the ideology, and you start to get these sort of programs coming out of the CIA right after that. And it makes sense because, for example, the things that proceeded in MK Ultra, for instance, would be considered war crimes based on the Nuremberg trials. So, very ironic. Anyhow, I said that it went from 53 to 73, so it had that initial wave, but through compartmentalization, they'd either like shut it down or move projects or whatever. So there's all these later incarnations. But those were also, it was like drugs was the main heading, but then different projects would maybe kind of be drilled down into a specific aspect of that. So like MK Naomi was drugs to control the mind, right? Or body, you know, both. But specifically as a biological weapon, if that kind of makes sense. So after they did the initial research, they started to have projects drilled down to specific applications. Now again, MK Naomi, the biological warfare one, that was also secret, CIA, all that. So hard to even know. Another example would be Project Artichoke. Now this one's kind of fucked up and racist. This one is about deep mind control of population segments through drugs. So it's basically like you infiltrate a population segment with drugs like weed that I like to toke, or crack, or whatever, and then you have a method that interacts with that drug to cause that population segment to be controlled in a certain way, including like against their own self-preservation. And that one I mentioned is racist because it was focused on large, less intelligent population segments. So that's like how it was classified in the terminology, like in the reporting. But it was all just like low income, like Hispanic or African American communities. So, but back, we're talking the 50s and 60s, so like people were fully racist still. So, now what kind of stopped quote unquote MK Ultra again was this church committee, alright? So let me show you a picture of this handsome fella. So here's Frank Church. It's a pretty tiny picture. You're gonna have to look at Tiny Frank though, I'm sorry. If you really wanna look at him, you have to Google. Jerry says, what up man, Jerry? People are still fully racist, fam. True. So, but then they're like fully, you know what I mean? Definitely more racist. You could maybe call them mega racist. So the church committee comes around. My notes. Don't look at them. What else verbatim? MK Ultra sounds like the new Gillette razor, he says. That would be great if they just straight up released one, just to get all the conspiracy heads to buy. So the church committee, a Senator Frank Church, I think he's from Idaho or Iowa or some other state beginning with an I. Idaho. Nice, see? Check me out. Look at the brain on Brad. Yo, Sabatum. Thanks for fluffing the cup. Did it work or did the CIA block it? Anyhow, so Frank Church, Idaho, 1975. He's a senator. He calls a committee to investigate abuses not only by the CIA, but this is a juicy thing. If you ever want to check out some juiciness, check out 1975 Church Committee. I'd like to see a movie about it. I'm sure there still is, or already is. He called up a committee to investigate abuses, not just by the CIA, but he had NSA in the pot, FBI, and the IRS, right? What's funny is the shit that was unveiled in 1975 is literally the exact same shit that was unveiled with Snowden, right? We didn't have the internet, but it revealed that the NSA was scanning your mail or photographing it. It revealed that the NSA was listening to all the phone calls. Basically everything but the internet, right? If the internet was there, they would have been getting it. So it revealed that, though when the phone calls and stuff was revealed with Snowden, people were like, whoa, and it's like, bruh, we've known that since 1975. Under the FBI, the church committee, again, a very like critical, like, I'll probably do one about the church committee maybe. It's kind of the fun part is like the reason now that I'm rebooting the Oh Yeah segment, I'm labeling some things like 101 or whatever. It's like this is like the 1,000-foot view of MK Ultra. You know, there's aspects you can dive down in, learn about, whatever. So the FBI, when they were in the pot here in the church committee, their COINTELPRO was revealed. That's counterintelligence, and I feel like that's basically entrapment in a lot of ways. Like the way it would work would be, let's say you're in some crazy militia or something, and there's a person in the militia, and they're essentially like, "Yo, man, shouldn't we go blow up this bridge to show the governor that she sucks?" And you're like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Well." You're like, "Yeah, but I can't get any bombs, you know, so whatever." And then he's like, "Well, I can get you the bombs." And you're like, "Okay, well, maybe we shouldn't do it, you know." "Well, what are you, a pussy?" Like, and then you do it, and then the FBI is like, "Yeah, I got another one." So, counterintelligence. And they did some other wild shit that was revealed, like sending letters to Martin Luther King that he should cut it out. And we're going back to the mega racist. A lot of people think maybe the FBI assassinated Martin Luther King as part of a counterintelligence program. Like maybe thought he was going to stir up some kind of shit. Again, none of that's provable. That's all where people speculate. But the CIA got lit up in the church committee as well. I think the IRS got lit up for not only scheming, but like fucking with political opponents. And that again came up just recently, a few years ago. So it's funny how things never really change. Because this is 1975 we're talking, right? That's a good overview. That's a pretty good 101. Let's fill in a few little areas here. All right. So, timeline with the CIA. Wonder if there's pictures of all these handsome. I can just type them in. So this handsome gentleman, is Alan Dulles. Now, he was head of the CIA from 53 to 61. He was probably, you would say, the head during that initial wave I talked about, right? Then they had kind of two randoms, you could say. They had this dude, John McCone, not McCain, McCone, 61 to 65. He was like a real conservative dude. He apparently was one of the best like managers of the CIA as far as like logistics. But he wasn't really into foreign espionage and disposing people and stuff like that. So he kind of got pushed out. And what I mean by that is he goes to 61 to 65. He kind of gets pressured out. Like he doesn't fit in very well. And then they put this random ass horrible dude in, apparently named William Radbourne, from 65 to 66. And they picked, or you could say that he picked them because he had no experience and he would be easily replaced. He was the guy that was there for 14 months. The spooky part, right, is JFK gets killed, Lyndon B. Johnson becomes president, and he immediately appoints Richard Helms to be the director of the CIA. And then he goes from 66 to 73, and he like reboots MK Ultra. So Alan Dulles like starts it. Then there's a couple directors for a few years that aren't into it, and then under suspicious circumstances, there's a new director appointed by the new president, and he immediately starts it back up. And him and Dulles were like, they saw eye to eye. They're intellectual contemporaries and shit. What up, Forte? We are talking about MK Ultra. It's kind of a CIA mind control program, but you'll kind of just have to go back and watch because we're getting toward the end of today's Oh Yeah segment. We're about to jump into the games. What up, Void? Uh, so that's a little bit of a timeline, and really the main figures in MK Ultra as far as running it would be first Alan Dulles and then Richard Helms, kind of the second wave. And you learned about the church committee, which is what ended it, quote unquote. Though everyone speculates, oh, it went forever. Who knows? Church committee is something very interesting to look into. Talked about the different names, some specific operations, which are hilarious. Operation Midnight Climax. A couple contemporary, I guess you could say, experiments to look into to see, in my opinion, a much more ethical way to do. Because look, you got to test drugs and biological weapons and stuff. You literally have to. In my opinion, it's something that has to be done pragmatically. So one thing, Edgewood Arsenal Human Experiments is what you can look it up under. It was a experiment at Edgewood Arsenal. It led to the publication of something called Psychochemicals as Weapons. That sounds like a fun one to read. I haven't read it. By James Lieberman in the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. If you want to check that out, I might actually do that. And on the Edgewood Arsenal human experiments, they tested LSD and this and that and the other. They invented something new called BZ, which is interesting to look into. But the key there is the soldiers had informed consent. Now, you might argue soldiers are U.S. government property, so it's not like they could say no. And I think if someone really did have a problem with it, they would probably get worked with and figured out. But technically, you're right. They can't say no. But at least they had informed consent. Because you go back to the CIA, they would dose each other. There was a situation where a CIA member working in Washington, D.C. was dosed with LSD, and he goes running across the Capitol lawn thinking that monsters are chasing him. And they really had to crack down on it for real because another operative was dosed and then killed himself. He jumped out the window and died for real. So the CIA would literally dose each other secretly. They didn't give a fuck. But at least the Edgewood Arsenal human experiment, they were like, look, here's what we're going to do. Another good example of doing it ethically would be Project 112. Again, that happened at the same time. This one's kind of interesting. It was the Department of Defense, and they were testing the use of, again, drugs, but also biological agents. And there's kind of a hazy area because, like, for instance, if you spray an aerosolized, like, sedative, that's a drug and a biological weapon. You know what I mean? So they were testing things like that as well, and they were testing them in particular with planes versus Navy warships. And part of the testing would be to have some people out on the deck just get exposed to see, like, all right, if you just couldn't get to safety, was it like? And then they would have people try to, like, seal up the boat in different ways, like either, actually seal the doors normally, or they had, like, they would try to cover things with tarps, and, like, they tested all these different ways to, if you saw that coming, what could you quickly do? So that one's actually pretty cool, Project 112. That one was signed off by McNamara, the Secretary of Defense at the time. And I think Project 112 was under JFK. So some people point to that as a good way to ethically do things that was kind of axed and then almost flipped. When JFK got assassinated, the CIA got very into fucking with other countries and stuff like that. There's a final character in this story to talk about named Sidney Gottlieb. And I think we can get a beautiful photo of him. And there'll be time for the video games. But I feel like it's been a fun jump back into doing the oh yeah. And I'm looking forward to doing more. I'll do all kinds of these. Not all on tinfoil hat stuff, but usually on weird or esoteric topics, or sometimes things like fitness or nutrition. I'll just go with the flow and see what seems fun. But this is the best I could find, man. Sidney Gottlieb, kind of an interesting dude. You can see he looks really happy there. So he was referred to as the Black Sorcerer. He's actually American, though. He's not a Nazi scientist or anything. He's from Brooklyn. He was a CIA poison expert. He had like a PhD in chemistry, I believe. And he was like very involved all throughout MKUltra, and was very particularly interested in LSD. But where MKUltra, we talked about at the very beginning how it can get spiraled out into some wild ass shit, is again so many records were destroyed that no one really knows exactly what's going on. But there were reports, for instance, of this Gottlieb dude running operations where he would take patients who were admitting themselves, hopefully for mental help, and then they would be dosed with LSD unknowingly for like 100 days at a time. And they would sometimes even play tapes and stuff. And again, MKUltra is all about drugs, so they're really testing that LSD. But they would break people down to a degree that they would like think the experimenters were their parents, or things like that. So, what up, Neothria? What does Squash have on? She's wearing her yellow bandana. It protects her from CIA mind control devices. So I think that's everything for MKUltra 101. Like I said, it's fun to jump back into. Oh yeah. These mostly are for YouTube, but I like doing them live because people in the IRL section. First, it's nice to spruce it up a little bit beyond yoga pants, and you get her. And it's fun to have the dialogue going back and forth during it too. So more of these to come, maybe like around once a week, and it'll either be tinfoil hat shit or magic shit or lifting weight shit, or who knows what I'll come up with. Trim another bonsai. Lord only knows, but it was a good one. So let me get it switched over here, and then we'll do some gaming. If you slid in here